Someone told your soulmate a secret about you. And for a long moment, they didn't know what to believe. It wasn't because the secret made you seem smaller. It was because it revealed a side of you they had never imagined. Before you assume this message is about someone else's opinion, stay with me. The real question is not what they heard. The real question is why those words awakened something that had been sleeping inside both of your hearts. Picture a quiet evening. A phone rests face down on a table. Outside, rain taps softly against the window. Someone hears your name in an unexpected conversation. No announcement. No dramatic entrance. Just your name. And suddenly the room feels different. They stop talking for a second. Not because they planned to. Because something inside them quietly whispers. Pay attention. Here's what you haven't noticed. Sometimes a single sentence reaches places that years of silence never could. Not because it changes the truth. Because it uncovers it. The secret they heard was not meant to define you. It simply reminded them that every person carries unseen chapters no stranger can fully explain. How often have you wished someone could understand the parts of your life that words never seem able to describe? The lonely prayers. The victories nobody applauded. The tears you wiped away before anyone could notice. The quiet decision to keep moving even when your heart wanted to stop. Those moments shaped you far more than the world realizes. And whether this person becomes part of your future or remains only part of your journey, something important is still unfolding inside you. That is the first gift hidden within today's message. Because the greatest connections are rarely built upon perfect first impressions. They grow when someone begins seeing beyond appearances. But listen carefully. There is another layer. Imagine standing in a hallway lined with closed doors. For years you've wondered which one might finally open. You reach toward one door. Then hesitate. Not because you're afraid. Because you've learned that forcing the wrong door only leads to more waiting. Now imagine hearing a lock quietly click somewhere behind you. Not in front. Behind. Sometimes life begins changing in places you aren't even watching. That realization brings peace. You don't have to control every conversation. You don't have to explain every misunderstanding. You don't have to chase every answer. Some truths travel farther when you release them than when you carry them. That is your second gift. You may have spent too much energy worrying about how people see you. Yet the people who matter most often discover your character slowly. Through consistency. Through kindness. Through the quiet strength you show when nobody is keeping score. Read that again in your heart. Your deepest value has never depended on perfect timing or perfect words. It has always rested in who you are becoming. Now imagine sunrise after a long night. Golden light stretches across empty streets. The air feels different. Nothing dramatic has happened. The buildings haven't moved. The road hasn't changed. Yet somehow everything looks new because the light has changed. Perspective can transform a familiar path into a brand new beginning. Perhaps that is what this secret truly represents. Not hidden information. A new perspective. Something changed. Not only in the way another person may see you, but in the way you are invited to see yourself. And when that happens, conversations become different. Decisions become wiser. Your heart becomes calmer. Even silence begins carrying hope instead of fear. Still, one question remains unanswered. If hearing one unexpected truth could awaken such deep reflection, what is the one thing your soulmate has never found the courage to admit, even to themselves? That answer is closer than either of you realizes. Not yet. Do not rush to answer that question. Some truths arrive like thunder. Others arrive like the first light entering a room that has been dark for years. The truth hidden inside another person's heart is often revealed that way. Quietly. Almost unnoticed. Imagine someone sitting alone late at night. The television is on, but they are not watching it. Their phone is in their hand. Your name has crossed their mind more than once. They scroll. They stop. They lock the screen. Then unlock it again. Not because they know exactly what to say, but because some conversations begin long before a single message is ever written. Here's what you haven't noticed. People often believe the biggest obstacle between two hearts is distance. It rarely is. The greater obstacle is assumption. Assuming they would not understand. Assuming the moment has passed. Assuming silence means indifference. Yet silence can hide many things. Reflection. Healing. Unanswered questions. Even hope. That is why the secret they heard mattered. It interrupted assumptions. It reminded them that your story contains chapters they never took time to read. And perhaps you have done the same with theirs. Picture two travelers walking on opposite sides of a mountain. Neither can see the other. Both believe they are walking alone. They experience the same sunrise. The same rain. The same cold wind. Yet because the mountain stands between them, each believes no one else understands the journey. Only when they reach higher ground do they realize their paths have been closer than they ever imagined. Sometimes life works that way. Perspective changes before circumstances do. That is your next gift. Do not underestimate what quiet growth is accomplishing inside you. Every lesson learned through disappointment has been preparing your heart to recognize something more genuine. Not something perfect. Something real. But listen carefully. There is another reason this message found you today. You have spent time asking why certain doors closed. Why certain conversations faded. Why people misunderstood your intentions. Those questions are natural. Yet they are not always the questions that lead to peace. A better question is this. What has this season been teaching my heart that comfort never could? Pause there for a moment. Think about the strength you now carry. Months ago, perhaps you doubted whether you could survive certain disappointments. Yet here you are. Still learning. Still hoping. Still choosing kindness. That strength cannot be borrowed. It was built. One quiet decision at a time. Read that again in your heart. Sometimes heaven's greatest work is not changing your surroundings. It is changing your capacity to love without losing yourself. Imagine standing beside a calm lake just before sunrise. The water reflects every color in the sky. You throw a small stone into the surface. The ripples spread farther than expected. One simple action. Countless circles. Your words. Your patience. Your integrity. They create ripples too. Many of them travel farther than you will ever witness. Perhaps the secret was never about information. Perhaps it was about influence. The kind that grows quietly while no one is applauding. Something changed. Not because your worth suddenly increased. Your worth was never missing. What changed was someone's ability to recognize what had been there all along. And yet, recognition alone does not complete the story. Understanding must follow. Courage must follow. Choice must follow. That is where many journeys pause. And that is exactly where this one becomes even more interesting. Because someone is standing at the edge of a decision they cannot ignore forever. The question is, what truth are they finally beginning to see that they spent so long trying not to face? Stay with me. The answer is not hidden in dramatic moments. It is hidden in the quiet ones people usually forget. Imagine an old photograph resting inside a drawer. No one has looked at it in years. One ordinary afternoon, someone opens that drawer searching for something completely different. Instead, they find a memory. For a few seconds, time seems to pause. Not because the photograph changed, but because the heart looking at it has. That is how understanding often begins. Not when circumstances suddenly become perfect, but when people begin seeing familiar things with new eyes. The same can happen with the way someone remembers you. Perhaps they once focused on what they did not understand. Perhaps they noticed only the distance, the silence, or the unanswered questions. But something inside them has shifted. Not all at once. One quiet realization at a time. Here's what you haven't noticed. Growth is rarely loud. The tallest trees do not announce every inch they gain. The sunrise does not ask permission before filling the sky with light. The deepest changes inside a person often happen without anyone applauding. The same is true for you. Think back to a season when you believed your heart would never feel steady again. Yet today, you carry wisdom you did not have then. You notice things differently. You protect your peace more carefully. You have learned that not every silence is rejection, and not every delay is defeat. That realization is your next gift. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is remembering without allowing the memory to control your future. Picture yourself walking along a quiet shoreline. Each wave reaches your feet, then gently pulls away. No wave stays forever. The worries that once seemed endless often leave the same way. Slowly. Patiently. Almost without you noticing. But listen carefully. There is another layer to this message. Sometimes people believe the greatest secret about them is something they have hidden. Yet the greatest secret is often something they have overlooked. Your ability to forgive. Your willingness to keep loving wisely after disappointment. Your quiet resilience when no one knew how much strength it took simply to get through another day. Those qualities cannot always be seen at first glance. They reveal themselves over time. And that is why genuine connections are built through patience rather than performance. Imagine two candles in a dark room. One is already burning. The other waits unlit. The first flame loses nothing by sharing its light. Instead, the whole room becomes brighter. Kindness works that way. Hope works that way. A peaceful heart works that way. When you choose to live from those places, you illuminate paths you may never personally walk. Something changed. Not because every question has been answered, but because your heart is becoming the kind of place where peace can remain, even while some answers are still unfolding. That is a strength many people spend years searching for. Read that again in your heart. You are not being invited to chase certainty. You are being invited to grow in wisdom, patience, and trust that each meaningful step has value, even before the destination is visible. And yet, there is still one quiet moment neither you nor your soulmate fully understands. A moment that seemed ordinary when it happened, but may have changed everything without either of you realizing it. What happened in that forgotten moment? And why does it still echo so deeply today? That forgotten moment. It did not arrive with applause. No one marked it on a calendar. No one realized its importance while it was happening. Yet some of life's greatest turning points are disguised as ordinary days. Imagine walking through a quiet park just before sunset. Children are laughing in the distance. Leaves move gently with the wind. People pass each other without exchanging more than a glance. Everything seems completely ordinary. And yet, one brief moment changes the direction of someone's heart forever. Not because of a grand speech. Not because of perfect timing. But because they noticed something they had overlooked all along. Perhaps it was the kindness in someone's eyes. The patience in the middle of uncertainty. The quiet strength that remained even after disappointment. These are the moments that leave the deepest impressions. Here's what you haven't noticed. The world often celebrates what is loud. Heaven often works through what is faithful. A gentle word. An honest apology. A quiet act of compassion. A decision to keep becoming the person you were created to be, even when no one is watching. Those moments rarely make headlines. But they shape lives. Including your own. Picture a seed resting beneath the soil. For weeks, nothing seems to happen. The ground looks exactly the same. Anyone passing by might believe the seed has been forgotten. Yet beneath the surface, roots are forming. Strength is growing. Life is preparing for the right season to rise. Sometimes your own journey feels like that. You wonder why progress seems invisible. Why answers appear delayed. Why certain hopes remain unfinished. But hidden growth is still growth. Read that again in your heart. Not every miracle is dramatic. Some miracles look like renewed courage after heartbreak. Some look like waking up with a little more peace than yesterday. Some look like choosing hope one more time when giving up would have been easier. That is your next gift. Never measure your progress only by what others can see. Measure it by the peace, wisdom, and compassion quietly growing within you. But listen carefully. There is another reason this message found you today. Someone may have heard something about you. But what truly stayed with them was not the story itself. It was the question that followed. What kind of person becomes stronger without becoming bitter? That question lingered. Because the answer could not be found in rumors, assumptions, or passing conversations. It could only be discovered through time. And time has a remarkable way of revealing character. Imagine standing before a mirror at dawn. For a moment, you see only your reflection. Then the rising sunlight fills the room. Suddenly you notice details that were hidden in the darkness. The mirror did not change. The light did. Perspective has a way of uncovering what was always there. Something changed. Not because you became someone new. But because the light shining on your journey became clearer. And when that happens, people begin recognizing qualities they once overlooked. Patience. Grace. Quiet courage. A heart that continues to grow instead of hardening. Still. The story is not finished. Because there is one final piece of this mystery that has remained hidden from both of you. It isn't about the secret they heard. It isn't even about the way they now see you. It is about the unexpected choice that comes after understanding. And that choice may reveal more than either heart has been prepared to admit. The unexpected choice. This is where many stories quietly change direction. Not because the road suddenly becomes easier. But because the heart finally becomes honest. Imagine standing at the edge of a long bridge just before sunrise. Behind you is everything familiar. Ahead of you is a path hidden beneath the morning mist. You cannot see the other side. You only know that remaining where you are no longer feels right. Every meaningful journey begins with a moment like this. A moment when certainty is replaced by courage. Here's what you haven't noticed. The strongest hearts are not the ones that never question. They are the ones that continue walking even while questions remain. There is a quiet kind of faith that grows in ordinary moments. When you choose patience instead of panic. When you choose kindness instead of resentment. When you choose wisdom instead of rushing toward the first answer that appears. Those choices shape your future more than dramatic moments ever could. Picture a lighthouse standing beside a restless sea. The waves crash against the rocks. The wind howls through the darkness. Ships come and go. Storms rise and fade. Yet the light continues to shine. It does not chase the ships. It simply remains faithful to its purpose. There is something deeply powerful about that image. Perhaps you have spent too much time wondering who will notice your light. Instead, ask yourself whether you are allowing it to shine consistently. Because the people meant to recognize genuine character are rarely drawn by perfection. They are drawn by authenticity. Read that again in your heart. Your greatest strength has never been pretending to have every answer. It has been your willingness to keep growing. That is your next gift. Growth invites the right conversations. Growth creates healthier boundaries. Growth teaches you that peace is not found by controlling every outcome, but by becoming the kind of person who can walk through uncertainty with wisdom. But listen carefully. There is one final image I want you to carry. Imagine a quiet train station just before dawn. A handful of travelers wait on the platform. Some stare at the tracks. Others read quietly. No one knows the exact moment the train will appear. Yet they remain ready. Not anxious. Ready. Life often asks the same of us. Preparation is different from pressure. Hope is different from hurry. Waiting with purpose is different from standing still. Something changed. Perhaps not in the way you expected. Perhaps not in the timing you imagined. But within your heart, a deeper confidence has begun to grow. You are learning that your value is not determined by who notices you first. Nor by who misunderstands you. Nor by who hears a story about you. Your value is revealed through the person you continue choosing to become. And that quiet transformation has a way of reaching farther than you realize. Still, one question has remained in the background since the very beginning. Why did this message find you today? Out of all the days it could have? The answer is connected to one final truth. A truth that has been quietly waiting for the right moment to be understood. And when that truth becomes clear, you may look back on this entire journey with completely different eyes. The final truth. It was never hidden because it was far away. It was hidden because it could only be understood after your heart had grown enough to recognize it. Think back to where this journey began. You believed the message was about a secret someone told your soulmate. But now you can see something deeper. That secret was never simply information passed from one person to another. It was the quiet revelation that every human heart is far more valuable than first impressions, misunderstandings, or unfinished conversations. That is why this message found you today. Not to convince you that every question has already been answered, but to remind you that your story is still being written. Picture yourself standing on a hill just after sunrise. The sky stretches farther than you can see. The cool morning breeze brushes against your face. Behind you are roads you have already traveled. Some were filled with joy. Some with disappointment. Some with prayers that seemed to echo into silence. Yet from this higher place, you notice something you could never see while walking those roads. Every turn. Every delay. Every unexpected detour helps shape the person standing here today. That realization is your greatest gift. You are not defined by the chapters you wish had ended differently. You are refined by what you chose to become while living through them. Read that again in your heart. Your life has never been a collection of random moments. Every act of forgiveness. Every lesson learned. Every quiet decision to keep hope alive has become part of the foundation beneath your feet. But listen carefully. There is one image I want you to carry long after this message ends. Imagine a beautiful stained glass window inside a quiet chapel. From the outside, it looks dark and ordinary. Almost colorless. But when the morning sun shines through it, brilliant colors fill the entire room. The glass did not change. The light revealed what had always been there. Perhaps your own life feels ordinary some days. Perhaps you wonder whether anyone truly sees the good growing inside you. Do not lose heart. Character often becomes most visible when it is illuminated by patience, humility, and love. Something changed. Not because heaven suddenly decided to notice you. You have always been seen. What changed is your willingness to see yourself through a lens of hope instead of fear. That changes everything. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you forgive, how you love. And yes, how you prepare for every relationship and every opportunity still ahead. Whether someone else fully understands your journey today or not. Continue becoming the person you are called to be. Peace grows there. Wisdom grows there. Joy grows there. And those gifts never depend on another person's opinion. So as this message comes to a close, carry this final reminder with you. Do not spend your life chasing the moment when everyone finally understands you. Spend your life becoming someone who reflects grace, truth, compassion, and quiet courage. The right people will recognize those qualities in their own time. But more importantly, you will recognize them within yourself. And when that day comes, you will realize the greatest secret anyone could ever discover about you was never hidden in someone else's words. It was quietly growing inside your own heart all along. My beloved child. Before you leave this moment, there is one more truth I want to place gently within your heart. Many people spend years searching for a sign that they are on the right path. They expect the answer to arrive with loud certainty. But often, the clearest direction comes as quiet peace. Imagine yourself walking through a forest just after dawn. A thin layer of mist still covers the ground. You cannot see the entire trail. Only the next few steps. Years ago, that would have frightened you. Today, you understand something different. You do not need to see the whole journey to faithfully take the next step. Here's what you haven't noticed. The person you are becoming today is preparing you for conversations you have not yet had. For friendships you have not yet formed. For opportunities you have not yet imagined. Every lesson has been shaping your heart with purpose. Nothing learned in love is ever wasted. Picture a potter carefully shaping clay. The clay cannot always understand why gentle pressure is needed. Yet every careful touch creates something stronger, smoother, and more beautiful than before. Life often works in the same way. The moments that stretched your patience. The seasons that tested your hope. The days that taught you compassion. Were quietly shaping qualities that cannot be purchased or borrowed. Read that again in your heart. Your greatest blessing may not be what you receive. It may be who you become while waiting. But listen carefully. There is one final invitation. The next time you look into a mirror, do not search first for your flaws. Instead, ask yourself, am I becoming more patient than I was yesterday? Am I choosing kindness even when it is difficult? Am I learning to forgive without forgetting my worth? Those questions reveal far more than appearances ever will. Imagine the sun setting over a calm ocean. The sky glows with shades of gold, orange, and deep blue. No two sunsets are exactly alike. Yet each one reminds the world that endings are also beginnings. The same is true for this message. It is not the end of your journey. It is simply the end of this chapter. Carry hope into tomorrow. Carry wisdom into your decisions. Carry peace into your relationships. And wherever the road leads, remember this. The most beautiful stories are not written in a single dramatic moment. They are written one faithful step. One quiet choice. One hopeful sunrise at a time. Until we meet again, may your heart continue to grow in love, wisdom, and grace, and may you never forget that the light you have been searching for is one you can choose to reflect every single day. My beloved child. If your heart is still listening, then there is one final whisper I do not want you to miss. When people speak about destiny, they often imagine one extraordinary moment that changes everything. But heaven often works differently. The greatest transformations begin in the ordinary. One forgiving conversation. One unexpected act of kindness. One quiet prayer spoken when no one else is listening. One decision to keep your heart open after disappointment. Those moments may seem small. Yet they become the turning points you recognize only when you look back. Picture yourself sitting beside a window as the first rays of morning light slowly fill the room. The darkness doesn't disappear all at once. It retreats little by little. Hope often arrives the same way. Not as a sudden explosion, but as a steady light that refuses to give up. Here's what you haven't noticed. Throughout this journey, you kept looking toward another person's heart. You wondered what they heard, what they thought, what they might eventually understand. But while your attention was fixed there, something beautiful was happening inside your own heart. You were becoming more patient, more discerning, more peaceful, more willing to value yourself without needing constant reassurance from others. That is a treasure no rumor can steal. No misunderstanding can erase. No season of waiting can diminish. Read that again in your heart. The strongest relationships are never built on perfect beginnings. They are built on honesty, respect, grace, and two people who continue choosing growth instead of pride. But listen carefully. There is one image I want to leave with you forever. Imagine a gardener planting an orchard. On the first day, the field looks almost empty. Days pass. Weeks pass. Even months pass. Someone walking by might say, "Nothing is happening." But beneath the surface, roots are spreading. Strength is developing where no eye can see. Years later, those same trees offer shade to strangers, fruit to families, rest to weary travelers. The gardener understood something that others did not. Growth requires patience. Your life is much the same. Every kind word you've spoken, every time you chose integrity instead of bitterness, every moment you remained faithful to your values, you were planting seeds. Not all seeds bloom in the same season. But none of them are forgotten. Something changed. Not because every mystery was solved, but because you discovered that peace does not come from knowing every answer. Peace comes from trusting that every season has something meaningful to teach. As this chapter gently closes, carry this truth wherever you go. Do not measure your life by how quickly things happen. Measure it by how deeply love, wisdom, humility, and courage continue to grow within you. Because in the end, the most remarkable secret anyone could ever discover about you is not what someone else said. It is the quiet light you chose to keep shining, even when no one seemed to notice. And one day, you may look back on this very season and realize it was never about waiting for someone else to see your worth. It was about learning to walk confidently in the truth that your worth had been there all along. Go forward with hope. Go forward with peace. And let your life become the message that words alone could never fully tell.